What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Power Play with CJ. I meant to dish on this the other day, but Joel Ward left the Washington Capitals in a stay against talents to the San Jose Sharks. His second, pretty big contract. Big relatively speaking contract. Especially when you factor in he was undrafted and really had not the easiest road to the National Hockey League. So he's a guy I obviously root for. Watching him up in the Nashville Predators organization. Where he really established himself after being more of an afterthought with the Minnesota Wild was really interesting. And, again, you can't help but root for a guy like that. But my bigger issue here is the Sharks. What are they doing? Okay, Joel Ward's a good ad, relatively speaking. Little under 3.5 per year, over 3 years for 34-year-old winger. That was the going rate. He was going to get that anywhere. You add Martin Jones to the mix, you had Paul Martin, and it's like, is this team that missed the playoffs for the first time in almost a decade last year, or over a decade, excuse me, are they closer to competing for the Stanley Cup than they were, at the start of free agency? The answer is no. You look at how tough the Western Conference is, and I think Joe Thornton, even at age 36, will bounce back and not struggle like he did last year. I think, the new change in the coaching staff and in the front office will be beneficial to him, but it's still, this team isn't that good. And you look at how they've been one of the more disappointing teams over the last, decade, in terms of not getting it done in the playoffs, and I really think it was time to move on from the majority of this core. Thornton and Marleau still have some value, and even Joe Pavelski, he's 30 years old. He'll be 31 next week. The whole thing about being a young player, he's gonna be 31 in a week. You probably could have maximized those assets. Really sucked next year. Gotten a top 5 pick, and you add that pick. Maybe you luck out and get Matthews or Jake Chychrun. Then you add them to the mix of a Hurdle. Matt Nieto, Mirko Mueller, Timo Meier, you really have a pretty good crew to build around and a real good nucleus going forward. But obviously, they're going to try to roll it one last ride on this, this nucleus they've established, and it's, we'll see how it works out. I'm not holding my breath, and if I was a Sharks fan, I wouldn't be holding my breath either. If things go wrong for this team, they end up picking in the top 10, or they don't pick in the top 10, the Bruins do. Their pick ends up in the top 10, is what I should have said. So, I don't see where this organization is going. I personally would have looked at blowing it up after they collapsed to Los Angeles last year. The 3-0 lead over the Kings. Epic collapse, and, time to really change things over. But, we'll see how it all works out. It's one of those situations that you look at and say, do they really know what they're getting themselves into? But we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's all I got episode of the Power Play with CJ. Stay tuned for more episodes throughout the off season and beyond. Later, guys.